So a columnist for The Times, Matthew Paris, has written an article about assisted dying, and I'm not being facetious when I say that he sounds like a Nazi. Now, Jewish people weren't just the target in the Holocaust. Gypsy Roma people, queer people, and disabled people were also killed. Now, disabled people were seen as a drag on the state, and the Nazis engaged in horrific euthanasia. Well, Paris has written a whole article on why it's okay for disabled people and sick people to die. We can't afford a taboo on assisted dying. The argument against it is that pressure will grow on the terminally ill to hasten their own deaths. That's not a bad thing. That's just the title. In short, a taboo will be lifted, and taboo is potent. What today is criminal could tomorrow become, as its proponents tend to insist, a sad but permitted option in a relatively small number of special and agonising circumstances, but within a decade or more be seen as a normal road for many to take, and considered socially responsible, and even, finally, urged upon people. Such, say objectors, is the wedge of which the Scottish proposal is just the thin end. So what he is saying here is that it will become socially acceptable for people to be pressured into ending their own lives, and he welcomes that. And I'm not taking his words out of context. I think it's quite clear anyway. But if you, given the nature of the entire article, you can see what he means. Now, the job for us as a society is to never make this socially acceptable. Now, he clarifies his position further in another sentence. Yes, but what's wrong with the thick end? It will be a healthy development. Healthy development. What the fuck? This is sick. This is absolutely sick. He concludes in his final paragraph that it may be economically necessary to coerce sick and disabled people into killing themselves. If I'm right, our growing interest in assisted dying may reflect a largely unconscious realisation that we simply cannot afford extreme sentence or desperate infirmity for as many such individuals as our society is producing. Your time is up will never be an order, but, yes, the objectors are right, may one day be the kind of unspoken hint that everybody understands. And that's a good thing. He thinks it's a good thing that sick people are pressured into assisted dying. That is Fascism 101. This is Nazi talk, and it's platformed in the mainstream media. This man used to be a Tory MP, by the way. And I'm in shock. I'm shocked that I'm actually covering this. This feels like I'm dreaming and it's a nightmare. How have we got to the stage that pretty much championing euthanasia is platformed in the media, and he's not going to face any repercussions, just some mild criticism, and that's it. But it's not just him. Multiple people have signed off on this. This is the sort of thing you would find on a really obscure, hard right-wing Nazi blog somewhere in the corners of the internet. Not the Times. And it's not the first time Paris has done this. He called for the ethnic cleansing of Gypsy Roma people, which is genocidal rhetoric, back in 2021. It's time we stop pandering to travellers, indulging those who claim to be nomads by giving them designated sites and ethnic minority status has gone too far. It cannot be otherwise. So we should stop forcing local authorities to create traveller sites, phase out the ethnic minority written in quotation marks, rights of people who are not a race, but a doomed mindset. Wow. Prioritise with the utmost generosity the offer of social housing to traveller families, and, to those who refuse it, begin a gradual but relentless squeeze on anyone who tries without permission to park their home on public property or the property of others. He is a genocidal freak, and I'm not being funny, but people with these opinions should probably be locked up for the rest of their lives. I mean, we have people roaming the streets with these sorts of extremist values. And yes, let's talk about extremism. This should be seen as extremism. It's twisted. And it's incredibly dangerous platforming this kind of thing. Now, this should never be socially acceptable because, well, I mean, his arguments, they're not about easing the pain and suffering for those who are in constant pain. He doesn't mean that. Of course, people who support assisted dying want to make it legal to give people the choice to die, but no one is calling for this to be socially acceptable. Each case of it happening, yes, would be agonising and hard, and it will be a long process. And I mean, that's how it should be, right? You wouldn't want it to be a quick and easy process. But Paris is seeing a future where it's normalised, and he celebrates that. Making something legal out of necessity is not the same as normalising. If assisted dying is seen as normalised, then that's where euthanasia kicks in, because it will be deemed an easier decision. Yet Paris seems to hope for that kind of future. We've gotten to the point where I am actually in 100% agreement With Wes Streeting, I feel so conflicted about assisted dying. I'm one of a minority who voted in favour of the last bill before the Commons. In the last 6 months, I've watched two people I loved die slowly and painfully, wishing it could end sooner. Matthew Parris's argument is chilling, and that is exactly my thoughts. I mean, I made a video recently about Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer said he supports assisted dying, and if he were to become Prime Minister, he would make sure there was a vote on it. And to echo what I said in that video, I principally support assisted dying, but seeing what's been happening in Canada, it has left homeless, poor, and disabled people literally being euthanized. So I don't support that policy coming into effect anytime soon. And I think it's clear we're not ready for it. And given that we are platforming insane people like Paris, who seems to be incredibly relaxed about euthanasia, we certainly are not ready for this. Look, it's difficult because I think about all those who are suffering, who desperately want that choice when I talk about this. And it pains me to come out and say that we cannot support this policy. But then at the same time, I can't, in good conscience, support something that will inevitably lead to euthanizing poor, sick, and disabled people and emboldening fascists like Paris. Now, I'm not sure how easy it is for those who want to go, to put it kindly, that those people can easily get a flight to places in Europe where it's legal. Right? I know that happens. To me, that seems like the compromise we can only work with right now. But yes, this is absolutely sickening from Paris, sickening from the Times, and it's so hard to believe how much fascism is already in this country and how it's just completely going unchecked.